Happy winter solstice, everybody. Bon hiver. Today we are celebrating a series, actually, of recurrences. It's winter solstice for us. Actually, it's going to happen around 11 p.m. here in Italy. But also for opera people, tomorrow it's Giacomo Puccini's birthday. He was born on December 22, which was likely the day of the solstice on the year of his actual birth. I could have checked. I didn't. I will later. It's curious the way Puccini always cared about the cycle of rebirth of light throughout his whole life. He describes the cycle of the season, and in many of his operas, actually, in a few days it's going to be Christmas, and Christmas, we know that originally the Christmas was the celebration of the rebirth of the sun. Then it was fixed around it's December 25, but it's of course the winter solstice, the rebirth of the light, which is why we actually put on Christmas lights during Christmas time, because we have less sunlight, so we have to compensate with artificial light. The Romans used to call it the dies natalis solis invicti, the day of the birth of the undefeated sun. The sun comes back. Well, in opera, there is one opera that sets off on Christmas Eve, and that's La Bohème, of course. And in La Bohème, there is this seamstress whose name is Mimi, and this Mimi so much resembles the verse, so the chirping of a bird. And on Christmas Eve, she runs out of light. Her flame is out, so she has to look for light somewhere else, and she goes to Rodolfo, to the poet Rodolfo, to ask for some light. Mi s'è spento il lume. And she, in fact, is the light. She loves the light. She waits for the April sun, for the kiss of the April sun on her rooftops, looking over the window like a real rondine. Rodolfo will call her the rondine, torna al nido, la rondine cinguetta at some point. And when she dies, when her flame will go out at the end of the opera, he will call her Mimi, Mimi. He will keep chirping to call his little swallow. But most importantly, Mimi's real name is Lucia, the light itself. Lucia, luce in Italian, light. And actually, we celebrate Santa Lucia in Italy on December 13th, because that is actually the day when the sunset begins to procrastinate a little during the day. So the winter solstice is highly considered and celebrated in opera, especially by Puccini, probably because he was born on a winter solstice. But also because he really loved to celebrate the feminine with a capital F in lots of ways, and so the nature and the cycles of nature in particular. To him, light meant a lot. His probably most famous aria, the Nessun Dorma, which a lot of people call a song nowadays, so famous it has begun, is actually a ritual to make the stars set, the night fade away, and the sun appear. Nessun Dorma is an invocation to the sun, okay, for the sun to rise, okay? Calaf at some point will say, Alba vieni, calm dawn, quest'incubo dissolvi, melt this nightmare away. So he really wants the light to appear, and he wants nessun dorma, no one sleeps tonight. No, he wants the people of Beijing not to sleep that night, because he needs to alter their sort of their circadian rhythm, because there is a prodigy that needs to happen. There is a quickening of the night. The night becomes shorter, as it happens when we go towards the summer. The night becomes shorter. Di legua o notte, tramontate stelle, all'alba vincerò. The dawn comes earlier in the day, because the light has won over the darkness, which is why Christians celebrate the birth of light as the birth of Christ, being Christ metaphorically the light of the world, la luce del mondo. And so his birth has been matched with the Dies Natalis Solis Invicti on December 25, whereas he was likely born in July, apparently the historical character. So let's go back to Nessun Dorma. There is this unknown prince who cares for his name not to be known, because that's the price he put on Turandot's freedom, because he has solved her 3 riddles, one of which was se per schiavo t'accetta, if she accepts you as her slave, ti fa re, she will make you king. If it wasn't that in Italian, re is the same word, the very same word we use for the note D. There is actually a slight difference in the pronunciation, because the note D is re with an open E, and the king is re with a closed E. Re, re. But that's a very tiny difference. Puccini loved to play with words, and he loved to play with tonalities and their symbols. So he has this prince who has to make a prodigy to make the night go away, the dawn come earlier, the cycle of nature begin again. There is an ideal masculine caliph that needs to be reconjuncting with his feminine, Turandot. This conjunction cannot happen because Turandot is prey of some sort of demon, which is her ancestor, Lowling, l'Ava Lowling, Ava dolce e serena che regnavi nel tuo cupo silenzio in gioia pura. In order to perform what actually is an exorcism of liberation, and it's a real exorcism because it has to be performed through the saliva. They have to kiss, okay, which is not even actually a kiss, because yes, il mio bacio scioglierà il silenzio. This is also very biblical. The saliva that gives back the speech, that gives back the hearing. You know, we have read about Christ performing a lot of this. Tricks across the Gospels. So, ed il mio bacio scioglierà il silenzio che ti fa mia, and my kiss will melt the silence that makes you mine. But what is this kiss actually? Il nome mio nessun saprà, sulla tua bocca lo dirò quando la luce splenderà. The magic is in fact the revelation of the name at dawn, when the sun will shine. Sulla tua bocca lo dirò, quando la luce splenderà. I will say my name on your mouth when the light will shine. Ed il mio bacio, and my kiss, so the saying of the name equals the kiss. Ed il mio bacio scioglierà il silenzio che ti fa mia, and my kiss will melt the silence that makes you mine. So there is an actual ritual that has to be performed in order for Turandot to be freed from the spirit of Laoling, and for the male and the female to unite again and let the nature cycles go on, and the sunrise, the light return to shine. In order to make any magic, in order to make any prodigy happen, you need a formula. You need what in English is called spell. Spell is in fact a very interesting word because it means different things in English, which all relate to the concept of a magic formula. Spell means magic altogether, but spell also means a period of time. In Italian, we would say lasso di tempo, in this spell of time, a given duration of time. And spelling, of course, means to enunciate the words, the letters of a word, one by one, in the correct order. So a spell is something that has to be done in a certain order, which has to be the right order, within a certain time, within a certain tempo. And we know that when the spell is not correct, the magic either doesn't happen or something wrong. There can be side effects. You know, if you think of the poor Mickey Mouse in Fantasia in the episode of the Apprendista Stregone. If you don't say the spell right, you never know what's going to happen. So Puccini prepares his tenor for the spell. It's very interesting noticing how the word tenor comes from the Gregorian music, the Gregorian singing, because teneo in Latin means to hold, tenere in Italiano nowadays means to keep, to hold. Tenor was the one who kept the melody up. So when in Gregorian you hear na 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 na, that tenor, okay, that tenor is that repetition, that that bouncing of the note is called tenor. That's where the word tenor, the voice register, comes from. And curiously, when it comes to Puccini, if we go listen to most of his greatest tenor arias, they're all about this Gregorian tenor. They're all about the ancient meaning of the Gregorian. For instance, nessuna dorma, di 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 re 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 re. The same note, tenor, tenor, high tenor, low tenor. But even che gelida manina, tenor, same note, recondita armonia, tenor, e lucevan le stelle, e dolezzava la terra, amen. So Puccini likes to play with the concept of the tenor. He likes to mix and match the concept of the Gregorian tenor with what the tenor voice is and does. And so we cannot help but noticing how Puccini, even in this case, he has to take us far away to a faraway imaginary Far East, far away legendary China. He recurs, even in this case, to Gregorian, and to a very simple Gregorian, because the aria starts off that we have just one, just the F sharp in key. So in theory, we are in G major, which in Italian is Sol maggiore. We are in the key of the sun, but we start off with the re, 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 so with the fifth, ideally, of the tone of G, re, 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 and then he keeps going, re, 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 do, si. He changes the melody a little bit, but he will never change the spell the actual spell, the rhythm of the spell, nessun dorma, vincerò, stays the same all over the piece. Tu pure, o principessa, tu pure, o principessa. He changes the melody a little bit, but the spell, he finds this rhythmic spell. And we start off in G, but with the fifth. Re, 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 sol, si, re, sol. So in theory, this is the tonality. If it wasn't that, at the end of the piece, we will be in D. We will be in D. Vincerò, re, si, la, re, fa, la, re. We are in D again. So we are back to the protus, to a major protus, and at the very end, we don't have a fifth first cadenza. We have a fourth first cadenza. We have sol, re, G, D. Just as in the Gregorian. In the Gregorian, most of the times, we will not have a fifth first cadenza. We will have a fourth first cadenza, una cadenza plagale. What's the name in English? I don't know, probably the same. If we are in D, we would have quarto, quinto, primo. In this case, we just have quarto, vincerò. We'd have quarto, primo. We have the cadenza plagale. So the tenor has to say the spell of the sol, this incantesimo del sole, this spell of the G, this spell of the sol, G sol, in order to be made re, to be made king. And also on the very core of the spell, di legua notte tramonta, notte tramonta, when he actually gives the order to the cosmic equilibrium, because that's what he does. He changes the path of the stars. He makes a magic that will have the power to affect the stars. Di legua o notte tramontate stelle. And he does that on the A. Notte tramontata. And he has to go back to the A at the end of the piece as the fifth of the real tone, the tone of the king. So in the beginning, the re was the fifth of the tone of the sun, the fifth of sol. The D was the fifth of sol, re, fifth of sol. Now the A, la, is the fifth of re, okay, the fifth of D. He gets there through a very simple scale. Re, mi, fa, sol, la, da, 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 di, legua, notte. You know. By the way, we know that scale. We know that scale because not in D, but in G, and we're back to the G. We had heard it in Mozart's Zauberflöte because it was the magic formula. Even there, it was the magic formula of love. It was the magic formula for which Tamino, or this guy looks a little bit like Papageno. Papageno called his Papagena, and Tamino called Tamina on the flute, on the glockenspiel, pum, 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 pum. It's the magic formula for calling the forces of good, even there, that contrast the forces of the night, of the darkness. And there we have an actual queen of the night. And of the darkness. So even there, it was this scale in G worked as a magic spell. Which is in fact. So through a lot of beautiful chromatisms that actually depict for us the raising of the sun, and so the changing color of the sky towards the morning, and through this scale, Puccini makes his prince become a king, arrive to the actual key of D, the protus, the real protus, which is affirmed through this repercussio, repercussion of the A, which is the repercussio of the re of the in the mode. And that's what happens through this magic spell, through this litany, which is nothing else but a litany, a Gregorian litany. When Puccini wants to go east, he actually goes back in time to the Gregorian. And in this case, the Gregorian is a cosmic prayer, is a cosmic spell that asks the sun to be reborn, that asks the dawn to come and dissolve the nightmare of the darkness. And this needs to be done through a spell of love, and this spell of love is the protus, the first Gregorian mode, with its finalis, the D, the re, because the Gregorian scale was descending, not ascending as ours. So it was La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, A, G, F, E, D. Yes. And so that's why it was the finalis, because it was the last one, what we call tonica nowadays. It used to be the last note. And repercussio, because repercussio is usually the note where the tenor is, that is repercussed, that is beaten onto. I do speak of a lot of these things in a book I recently wrote, and that came out in its Italian version, Cantare Italiano, which is a manual of Italian prosody, vocality, and diction that I hope will help you all make all of your spells working and right when you sing on stage. It's already available on Amazon. I will leave a link for the ones of you who speak the language of bel canto. Merry Christmas, everyone. Enjoy the solstice and be happy, and actually enjoy the light of Mimi, Lucia. And remember that opera is our mythology, and that is why we're so deeply attached to it, and that is why it shakes us to the core.